The stone hammer was just an inch away from her head. The crowd was silent. The air was heavy. One more second and everything would be over. But suddenly, it stopped. The giant alien holding the hammer froze in place. His red eyes went wide. A strange voice echoed from the back of the crowd. "That woman is not to be killed." Gasps filled the square. Even the guards looked confused. The woman raised her head slowly. Her face was dirty, bruised, tired. But her eyes still had fire. Her name was Commander Arya Vale, once a powerful human officer, now a prisoner of the alien empire. No one had spoken her name in years. The guards looked at each other, unsure what to do. The voice came again, louder this time. I said, "Stop the execution." Then black screen. Silence. Flashback 15 years earlier, Arya walked through the ruins of a small mining colony. Her boots crunched on broken stone. Smoke was everywhere. She led a small human strike team. The mission was simple: destroy the alien camp, take what's useful, and leave. Arya had seen war many times. She had seen death. She had seen slaves, but that day, something changed. In a dark corner of the underground tunnels, she found a young slave boy. His skin was silver gray. His arms were thin, his body covered in wounds. He had broken chains on his wrists. His eyes glowed softly in the dark. He looked at her, scared. He didn't move. A soldier beside Arya raised his weapon. Enemy slave. Should we kill him? Arya paused. She looked into the boy's eyes. He was maybe 10 years old. No threat, no weapon. Just fear. She shook her head. No, leave him. Orders say to eliminate all alien survivors, the soldier said. I gave you a new order, Arya said calmly. The soldier lowered his gun. Arya stepped closer to the boy. She knelt down and whispered, You're free now. Run. Don't look back. The boy didn't speak. He just stared at her. Then, slowly, he turned and disappeared into the dark tunnels. She never saw him again. Or so she thought. Back to present Execution Square 15 years later, Arya was on her knees, about to die in front of hundreds of aliens. Her crime? Fighting. Back? Leading human resistance. Burning supply routes. Defeating 2 alien generals, but she had been captured, betrayed, tortured. Now, she was nothing but a memory of her past glory. Until that moment. The voice from the crowd grew closer. A tall figure stepped forward. His face was hidden under a metal hood. His armor was dark, but not like any alien soldiers. He walked with calm power. Release her, he said again. The alien guards aimed their weapons. Who are you to give orders? One asked. The hooded man raised his hand. Instantly, 5 guards fell to the ground, unable to move. A shockwave of energy passed through the air. Panic spread. The alien leader of the execution team shouted, This is rebellion. The hooded man turned to him slowly. You know nothing about rebellion, he said. She showed it to me. The crowd was now silent, watching. The man walked toward Arya. She looked up at him. Her eyes searched his face. There was something familiar, but she couldn't place it. Who are you? She whispered. The man slowly removed his hood. His skin was silver gray. His eyes glowed softly in the light. Arya's eyes widened. It was him. The boy from the tunnel. But now, he was no boy. He was strong, taller than her, and full of quiet rage. You once spared a slave, he said. You gave me my life, and now I give you yours. The chains on Arya's hands snapped open. The guards around her were frozen in fear. The crowd did not move. No one dared to stop him. He helped her stand. We're not done, he said. This is just the beginning. Then explosions in the distance. Rebel ships appeared in the sky. The crowd scattered in panic. The man led Arya away into the shadows, just as the sky turned red with fire. One moment of kindness can change everything. She spared a life when she had no reason. 15 years later, that same life came back. To stop the stone just before it fell. Darkness. Soft breathing. Cold air. The sound of metal doors hissing shut. Arya opened her eyes slowly. The world was blurry. She tried to move, but pain shot through her arms and legs. She was alive. But where? Not the execution square, not the prison camp. The smell was different. The silence was too clean. She blinked again. A soft light above her flickered. She was lying on a bed inside a small room. Metal walls, smooth floor, no guards. A calm voice came from a hidden speaker. "You're safe now, Commander Vale." Arya sat up, wincing in pain. Her arms still had bruises from the chains. Her voice was dry. "Who are you?" The door slid open with a soft hum. A tall figure entered. His face was half covered with a black scarf, but his silver-gray skin and glowing eyes were unmistakable. It was him, the boy. Now a man, but this time he wore no hood. He looked at her, calm and quiet. "Do you remember me?" Arya stared at him, unsure. "The tunnels, the chains?" He nodded once. "You let me go, 15 years ago." The memory returned like a sudden storm. That broken child, the fear in his eyes. Her whispered words, "Run, don't look back." She had forgotten his face, but not his silence. Not the way he had stared at her before vanishing into the dark. Now here he was, alive, strong, unbroken. "I never thought I'd see you again," she said. "I promised myself. One day I'd find you." Flashback, his memory, the boy had run for days through broken tunnels, past dead bodies, past fear. He had escaped, but the world outside was just as cruel. Alone, hungry, hunted, but he remembered her eyes. The only eyes that didn't look at him with hate. That memory kept him alive. Years passed. He learned to survive, to fight, to lead. He joined others, escaped slaves, rebels, forgotten fighters. They followed him. He became a shadow in the Empire's perfect system. They called him Ashar, meaning the spark, and Arya Vale was the fire that lit it. Back to present, Rebel Base. Arya looked around the room. It was part of an old ship, repurposed, hidden underground. She could hear faint noises now, people moving, machines humming. "Where are we?" she asked. "Deep under the ruins of Outpost 7, Ashar said. "This is one of our safe zones. Why did you save me?" Ashar didn't answer at first. He walked to the window and looked out at the flickering rebel lights. "Because you saved me first, when no one else would." "That was a long time ago," Arya whispered. "I don't even know why I did it." Ashar turned to face her. "That's why it mattered. You didn't expect anything in return. But the Empire never forgets. They wanted to make an example of you. That's why they planned your execution so publicly." Arya's eyes narrowed. "So this was about revenge?" Ashar shook his head. "No, this is about change." Meanwhile, Empire War Council, far above the rebel base in the floating towers of the Empire, the High Council was in session. Their leader, a tall alien with crystal blue armor, stared at the screen. It showed Arya's execution stopped mid-swing. Chaos. The rebels escaping. He was silent. Then he said coldly, "The ghost boy lives." Everyone at the table looked uneasy. "Activate the hunters. Find them. I want her dead and him broken." Back to Rebel Base. Ashar showed Arya the maps. The rebel forces, the numbers. They were small, outnumbered, undersupplied, but they had hope. And hope was dangerous. "I don't want to lead anyone again," Arya said. I failed. I lost my entire team. You didn't fail, Ashar replied. You were betrayed, but now they need you. Why me? He paused, then said softly, because when I had nothing, you gave me something. A choice. Ending scene, suspense builds. Night fell across the ruined outpost. The stars above were quiet, but deadly ships moved in the distance, black shadows across the sky. Ashar stood outside watching. His second-in-command came up behind him. They've sent the hunters. Ashar didn't flinch. Let them come. Inside, Arya stood in front of a mirror. She looked at her face, older, worn, scarred. But in her eyes, she saw something she had lost long ago. Purpose. The past had found her again, and it was not done with her yet. Voiceover. Ending. You can lock someone in chains. You can silence their name. But if you once gave someone hope, their memory will never die. Arya sat alone in the dark. Outside, rain fell over broken glass panels of the rebel shelter. Thunder echoed across the ruins. Inside the room, only a small data screen glowed. Lines of old battle reports flickered on it, some of them with her name. Commander Arya Vale, decorated general, missing in action, presumed dead. She read the lines like they were about someone else. And in a way, they were. Flashback, the fall of a general 3 years ago. During the final battle of Sector 9, Arya had led her last mission. Her unit had been ambushed. Someone inside had betrayed her. All her soldiers died one by one. She was left behind. Wounded, surrounded, captured. She never knew who sold her out. She only remembered pain and silence. That was the moment her name was buried. That was when the Empire erased her. But now someone had dug her memory back up. And that someone was the ghost she once saved. Present inside Rebel HQ. Ashar entered the room quietly. He didn't wear armor tonight, just a simple coat. His silver-gray skin caught the light as he stood across from her. He looked different now, older, wiser, but his eyes still held that same quiet fire. You were reading about your old self, he said softly. Arya turned the screen off. She doesn't exist anymore. She does, Ashar replied. You're her, just with new scars. She studied him closely. You've changed too. He nodded. I had to. What made you survive? She asked. Ashar walked over to a small table. He placed an old, rusted chain link on it. One from his wrists as a child. This did. I kept it. To remember who I was. And who I never want to be again. A prisoner? A victim. Revelation. The ghost raises. Arya looked at the chain. You didn't just survive. You became something powerful. Ashar gave a faint smile. So did you. The Empire feared you enough to try and erase you. He paused, then added, now they know you're alive, and they'll come again. This time with hunters. Arya stood slowly. Her back still hurt. But her mind was clearer now. Then we need to hit them before they find us. Ashar raised an eyebrow. You ready? I'm not the same general I used to be, she said. No, he said. You're better. Cutscene. The hunters released in a distant star sector aboard a warship shaped like a blade. The Empire's best were being awakened. The hunters, a secret unit made of enhanced aliens bred for one purpose, erase threats. Each of them had a mark on their helmet, an X over a skull. The screen in front of them showed one name, Arya Vale. Target, terminate, and another below it. Ashar, target, capture alive. The lead hunter growled, bring them in. Or bring them down. Back to Rebel HQ. Strategy begins in the war room. Arya stood in front of a digital map of nearby sectors. Rebel leaders stood around her, uncertain. They had heard stories of her, but seeing her in person was different. You all want freedom, she said, but freedom is never given. It's taken. She pointed to a transport lane. There's a weapons convoy moving through here in 2 days. Light escort. If we hit it, we'll have gear for 3 bases. And if we fail? One rebel asked. Then we die with purpose, she said. Not like animals in cages. Silence. Then Ashar spoke. I follow her lead. Others nodded. The plan was set. Quiet moment. Between the two later that night, Arya and Ashar stood outside, watching the stars. The rain had stopped and the sky was clear. I thought I'd die in that square, she said. Alone, forgotten. I thought I'd die in that tunnel, chained, worthless. They both laughed softly. Different worlds. Same pain. Arya looked at him. You could have lived a quiet life, hidden, safe. Ashar looked at her with calm strength. But I owe my life to someone who refused to stay silent. Now it's my turn. Final scene, suspense build somewhere far away. The hunters were tracking movement. A signal had been found. Someone sent a message out of the rebel base. A traitor. A hidden message blinked on the hunter's screen. They're hiding under Outpost 7. You can still catch them. The lead hunter growled. Prepare the drop. We end them now. Voiceover ending. She was once a commander, then a prisoner, then a ghost, but memories don't die, and some ghosts come back with fire. Asterisk deep beneath the ruins of a forgotten city, a fire burned in a circle of rebels. Ashar stood at the center, speaking quietly. Faces around him were tired but listening. Some were human, some were alien. All were outlaws, all broken by the same enemy. Arya watched from the edge of the room, silent. The last time she stood before soldiers, she wore polished armor and had a rank. Now she wore scars, dirt, and a name that had become a whisper. They think we're weak because we're hidden, Ashar said, his voice echoing in the cave walls. But even small sparks can start wildfires. The rebels murmured in agreement. But one man, a rebel scout named Lark, leaned close to another and whispered, She's the reason half of us are hunted. Why trust a ghost? Arya heard it. She said nothing. She just stared at the fire. And remembered how war smells. Flashback, the fire that burned first years ago. Arya had led a mission on a frozen moon. The Empire was building a mind control station. She gave the order to burn it. That mission was successful, but the cost was high. Children caught in crossfire. Civilians turned into tools. The victory came, but left a stain on her name. After that, she wasn't called a hero anymore. She was called the Butcher of Kaldan-5. Present. Ashar's plan revealed later. Inside the command room, Arya and Ashar stood alone. A large hologram showed Empire-controlled zones. Flashing red dots revealed movement patrol ships, supply routes, weak points. You've built all this in the shadows? Arya asked. Ashar nodded. Piece by piece, refugees became fighters. Smugglers became messengers. And what do they think I am? She asked. Some think you're broken, he said honestly, but I know better. I saw your strength when you had nothing. He walked to a control panel and tapped it. A message played and intercepted Empire order. Target, Ashar, alive, Commander Vale. Execute on sight. Arya raised an eyebrow. Still wanted, I see. You always were more dangerous. Alive than dead, Ashar said with a slight smile. Discovery? A spy among them? That night, a coded message was detected in the outer system sent from somewhere inside the base. Someone had tipped off the Empire. Again. Arya and Ashar stood in the shadows, reviewing the signal. It was short, hidden, smart. We have a traitor, Arya said coldly. Ashar nodded, jaw tight. They know our next target. If we don't move fast, they'll strike first. You trusted the wrong people, Arya said. Or maybe, Ashar said, One of us still carries old enemies in our shadow." They exchanged a look not of anger, but fear. They both knew. Betrayal always comes from someone close. Emotional beat. Arya's doubt later. Arya stood on the old balcony of the ruins. The stars above blinked like eyes watching. She felt the weight of war again, but deeper this time. More personal. Ashar found her there. "You blame yourself for everything," he said. "Because I made mistakes," she said. "People followed me. Some died because I told them to." Ashar stepped beside her. "But others lived because of you. Like me." He held out a small badge. Her old military insignia, bent, scratched. "I found this on the black market. Someone tried to sell it as junk." "It's not," she whispered. "No," he said. "It's a symbol. Even broken things can be remembered." Tension builds. "They're coming." A rebel runner burst into the room moments later. "We have movement. 3 Empire dropships coming fast." Alarms began to ring. People scrambled. Weapons were handed out. Ashar looked at Arya. "Ready to lead again?" She tightened the belt around her waist and picked up a rifle. "Let's remind him who I was. And more importantly, who she still is." Empire ship. The hunters smile aboard one of the dropships. The lead hunter loaded his weapon. He smiled, sharp teeth showing. "Run, General Vale. Make it fun." He tapped the glass of his helmet where her name was carved. "This time, no ghost will save you." Voiceover ending. In the dark, a spark was born. A broken general. A former slave. And a rebellion built not on power, but on memory. The air was too quiet. Outside the rebel base, clouds hung low like waiting predators. Inside, the rebels moved in silence, loading weapons, checking maps, nodding to each other without a word. They were preparing for a battle they might not win. In her quarters, Arya stood in front of a cracked mirror. Her reflection stared back. Bruised face, sharp eyes, a long scar across her jaw, an old wound from a forgotten war. She picked up her old badge from the table and held it tightly. For the first time in years, she was afraid, not of death, but of leading again. Flashback. The mission that broke her. Her mind drifted back to Calden 5. A rescue mission. Civilians trapped. She had to choose: go in with her full team and risk them all, or call a strike and lose the innocent. She chose the strike. The explosion ended the enemy threat, but children were among the fallen. From that day, she stopped trusting her own choices. That was the day Arya stopped being a general and became a ghost. Present, the doubt returns. Ashar found her sitting alone on the edge of the cliff, overlooking the base. "They're ready," he said. Arya nodded but didn't stand. "They trust you," he added. "I don't trust myself," she whispered. "You don't have to," he said gently. "Just trust the reason you're still fighting." She turned to look at him. "What if I fail again?" "Then fail forward," he said. "Fail protecting something that matters," she breathed out slowly. "Like you once did." He didn't respond. He only nodded. Because sometimes silence says more than words. The battle begins. Empire strikes first just before dawn. The first blast hit the outer walls. The Empire didn't wait. The traitor's message had worked. 3 dropships landed. Fast. Hunters came in hard, taller, stronger, silent warriors with glowing eyes and deadly weapons. The rebel alarm screamed through the base. Ashar grabbed his gear. Arya stood tall now, armored in a mix of old and new gear. "We hold the line," she ordered. "Evacuate civilians. Push them back into the outer fields." Her voice had returned, and so had her fire. The fight, fire, steel, and blood rebels fought with heart, not numbers. Every hallway turned into a trap, every corner into a battle zone. Ashar led one squad. Arya led another dot, then dash chaos. A hunter broke through the west gate and stormed toward the command room. Arya stood in its path. He was twice her size, his armor thick, his fists like metal hammers. "Step aside, human," he said. "Not today," she replied. They fought steel against steel, will against power. She took a hit to the ribs, another to the shoulder, but never fell. In the end, it was her knife, small, fast, aimed right under the hunter's chin, that brought him down. The betrayal. Truth comes out as the smoke cleared. One rebel was caught trying to escape with a communicator. Lark, the same one who whispered doubt in Part 4. A shark confronted him. "Why?" he asked. "She's a war criminal," Lark spat. "She's the reason my brother died in Calden 5. I joined the rebellion to get close to her, and I gave the Empire your location." Arya stood in the doorway. She heard every word. She didn't speak. She just looked at Lark. And for once, she didn't defend herself, because she knew he wasn't lying. Aftermath. The cost of fire. The rebels won the battle. But the base was lost. Smoke rose into the sky. Bodies were counted. Ashar stood beside Arya, both covered in dust and blood. "We need to move camp," he said. "Go deeper." "And the people?" she asked. "Scared, but alive. Because of you." She looked at the sunset, red and orange, like Calden 5 had once been. "No," she said, "because of us." Ending, a new decision that night, Arya recorded a message. A transmission sent across old rebel channels, her voice calm, steady. "This is Commander Arya Vale. If you remember my name, you remember the stories. Some are true, some aren't. But here's what matters now. The Empire fears me, and if you're still out there, maybe they should fear you too." Voice over. Ending. She walked through the ashes of her past. But shadows don't always mean darkness. Sometimes they show you where the light should go next. Asterisk. The clock was ticking. Literally. A countdown blinked on the stolen enemy screen inside the rebel hideout. 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 27 seconds. 2 hours left before the Empire's orbital strike hit the mountain. Not just soldiers, not just fighters, but families, children, medics, mechanics. Every rebel still hiding. Underground. Arya watched the red numbers flash. The firelight reflected in her eyes. Ashar stood behind her, quiet. "We can still evacuate some of them," he said. "Not enough," she replied. "Not in time." "Then we make a choice." She turned to him, calm, focused. "We fight. We hold the upper fields. We slow them down. Long enough to get the others out. It's suicide, one," Rebel whispered behind them. Arya looked back, eyes hard as stone. "Then let's make it mean something." Flashback. The first time she chose to stay, she remembered. The first time she had to make a similar call during the siege of Nova Ridge. The plan was retreat, but her squad was too slow. She stayed behind. Fought alone for 6 minutes. 6 minutes that saved 140 lives. She nearly died that day. Now the same choice stood in front of her. But this time, she wouldn't be alone. Present, preparation for the final stand, the rebels gathered what little they had. Rifles, empty mines, stolen alien gear, even scrap-built drones. The upper fields were rocky, exposed. And the only path to the underground caverns. Ashar stood before the fighters. "They have numbers. We have time. Use it. Fight smart. Delay them." He looked at Arya. "She'll lead the front." Arya walked to the center, holding a map. "No speeches," she said. "Just one promise. If you fall today, you fall protecting those who can't fight. And there is no greater honor than that." They all stood in silence. Then one rebel raised his fist. Then another. And another. Action. The Empire arrives just before dawn. The sky split open. Empire warships hovered above like black birds ready to feed. Dropships fell fast, landing in clouds of dust. The hunters came first, armored, brutal, silent. And this time, they brought fire tanks. Arya stood on the ridge, wind whipping through her hair, rifle steady in her arms. "Wait," she whispered. The rebels waited behind rocks and trenches. The enemy marched closer. Wait, closer. 100 meters. 70 meters. Arya's voice broke the silence. Now. Explosions lit the valley. The rebels attacked in wave snipers, firebombs, charges under the rocks. A drone crashed into the first tank. It exploded mid-air for a moment. It looked like they had a chance. Personal combat, Arya versus the lead hunter then. He arrived, the lead hunter from Part 4. He locked eyes with Arya from across the smoke. He walked forward slowly, dragging a huge blade behind him. "You ran before," he growled. "I'm done running," she replied. Their fight was brutal, more than just strength. It was memory versus hatred. Every blow she landed was for someone she lost. Every hit she took reminded her she was still alive. Finally, she used a broken pipe and drove it into his power core. The hunter fell. Sparks flying, but Arya didn't stand long. Her leg was bleeding, and she could barely move. Ashar ran to her, helped her up. "We don't have much time." "We bought them 10 more minutes," she said. Twist. "Not everyone escapes down in the tunnels. Not all civilians were out. The transports were full. The youngest were sent first." A mother cried as she gave up her place. Ashar got the last signal. "We can't save them all." Arya looked around. "But we can give them a chance." Final scene, sacrifice and silence. Arya and Ashar led the last group to a hidden tunnel, knowing it only let out if someone stayed behind to seal it manually. The system was old. No remote. Only one person could lock it from inside. Arya looked at the control. Ashar understood. "Don't," he said. "You said I gave you your life once," she said softly. "Let me finish the promise." She shut the door. On the other side, Ashar screamed, pounded the wall, but she smiled and pressed the seal. Voiceover ending. "The fire of war burns fast, but the ones who choose to stand inside it, they light the way for others to live." This was not her end. This was her beginning. Years later, a child sat by a campfire wide-eyed. Around her, survivors of the rebellion, young, old, human, alien, gathered in the shadows of a broken world slowly healing. The storyteller leaned closer to the flames and spoke softly. "They say she stood alone at the gates, that the sky was falling, the empire was coming, and she still smiled." The child whispered, "Is the story true?" The old storyteller just smiled, and the scene faded back in time to the final moment she was seen. Flashback after the seal. Arya Vale stood behind the sealed door, bruised, bleeding, trapped. But she was calm. In her hands, she still held the detonator, the last charge. Her final card. She looked up at the screen. Ashar's face on the other side of the locked wall. Full of grief. She pressed a single button. "Get them out. Don't come back for me," she said. "That's an order." The screen went black. Ashar's escape and the final stand. Ashar obeyed. The escape tunnel collapsed behind them, sealing the civilians from danger. The mountain above shook with the Empire's orbital blast. Fire rained from the sky. And somewhere behind it all, she stood, holding the front. One against many. Rumors after the war. Some say Arya Vale died in that fire. Some say she survived. That the Empire never found a body. That even the hunters feared going back to that place. Others say she became something else. Not a ghost, not a general, but a symbol. Ashar's speech, years later in the rebuilt rebel city. Ashar stood before thousands. He was no longer just a rebel. He was now the leader of a free Alliance planets no longer under the Empire's chains. He spoke into the wind. She gave me freedom when I had nothing. And when the time came, she gave it again to us all. He stepped back and revealed something covered in cloth. He pulled it off, a giant stone. Hammer. The very one once used in executions. Now cracked down the middle. Split. Broken forever. Below it, a simple engraving. She stopped the stone. And it never fell again. Final flashback. The stone that never fell back to the beginning. The day of her execution. The slave she saved. The moment the hammer was inches from her head, and it stopped, because one act of mercy changed the path of war. Ending scene. The child's question. The child looked up again. But what was her real name? The storyteller smiled. Some called her Commander. Some called her Ghost, but to the ones who survived, she was simply called the Reason. ***. She once spared a slave. Years later, he stopped her execution. A second before the stone came down, and in doing so, he gave her something greater than life. ***. He gave her back to history.